Hey, business building warrior. This is Jim. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We have another guest today. This is one of those episodes where we turn on the video cameras so you can jump over to YouTube. There's a link in the show notes if you're listening and you can watch it if you'd like. Most people just listen, and that's fine. It's just two guys hanging out talking to Amazon Replin's business. This is yet another Replin's success story. Our guest today, Mike, has, as we're wrapping up August 2021. That's the month we're in right now as I'm recording this. And we still have several days left in the month as I'm recording this. He just hit $80,000 in sales at about 20% profit margin. And he is so excited. He's already put $16,000 in the bank, in other words, from his Amazon business, selling products that he's finding using the Replin strategies that we teach in the Proven Amazon course. So if you don't have that course yet, if you haven't jumped in, this is yet another person saying, hey, this stuff just works. And some of the things that stand out today from this interview, I just recorded it. Now I'm doing the intro after the fact. But some of the things that jumped out, this guy's been doing internet marketing and involved in internet business since the mid 90s, which in dog years is like ancient history, right? Guys like me that have been around almost forever, it seems like, I'm 20 years into this. This stuff works that we're teaching now. So I asked him, one of the questions is, hey, compare the opportunity now that you're in with Amazon and the Replin strategy, this business that you're building, compared to all the other stuff you've been involved with. He's done it all. He's seen it all. He's worked for companies that do it. He's done it himself. And he tells us, and to summarize his comment, I loved it. He said, Jim, I hope this isn't too much, but it's shooting fish in a barrel. If you follow the instructions, if you do what you guys teach, it just works. The products are everywhere once you know how to see them and look for them. And these opportunities have led now to some wholesale opportunities that he's talking about. And I think it won't be long and he'll have some great private label rolling as well, very organically stepping into these higher level, more risk type scenarios, if you will, for Amazon sellers. But the easy stuff, the low hanging fruit is where he's at right now. And he's having a blast with it. It hasn't been all roses and rainbows and cherries the whole way. He's had some rough months. He's taken full months off at a time just to travel and enjoy the outdoors with his family, and comes back. And lo and behold, his numbers have slipped a little bit. Shouldn't shock anybody, right? He talks about coming to our event recently in Tampa, meeting some of the great people there, the very specific strategies and tips that he picked up while he was there, listening to some of the leaders and coaches and even just the members of our community, bumping into them in the hallway, talking business. He put some of those things to work, and he tells us exactly what those ideas were and how it impacted his business. And he directly credits this phenomenal month that he's having right now, and hopefully continuing that upward curve into the fourth quarter and into 2022. He credits it to those conversations that he had and just the good people of this community. So if you're not surrounded with those kinds of people who are encouraging on and dropping those powerful hints and tactics and strategies, well, you need to be a part of our free Facebook group. It's over 66,000 people as I'm recording this, people from all over the world who are using the strategies that we teach, not just the Amazon, but all kinds of internet business building strategies. But we do start most new students out with the Replin's strategy on Amazon because it just works. Our guest today, Mike, said it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I've never heard anyone call it that before, but I think the analogy works. If you want to jump into our Facebook group and hang out with people who are doing this business, we actually just blew by 1,000 success story posts in the group. You can go to silentjim.com, look for the Facebook link, jump in there with us. We'd love to have you hang out. But let's get over and meet Mike. He's a family guy. He's got a young kid and a wife. They're doing life together, living a flexible schedule. I think you're really going to enjoy his story. And one last thing I'll say is, you may notice this is a longer episode today. Well, Mike really gets into the weeds on some very specific details on how he finds product, where he goes, where he sources, what part of the store he looks at, what he's looking at in analyzing something that's going to do well for his business, what kind of products he doesn't sell. He really gets into the weeds. So if you're brand new and this is your first episode, you may find yourself thinking, man, I don't understand some of this terminology. That's okay. Listen to a few more episodes besides this one. Get into our Facebook group. It'll come to you soon enough. If you're ready to jump in, the Proven Amazon course, it's $29 a month. You get it all. starting day one. You get everything. You can work through it at your own pace. You pay $29 every month, shut it off whenever you'd like. But you're not going to want to shut it off because this stuff works and you're going to scale and grow, and the course scales and grows with you as your business grows. So that's the way we've set it up, because we want you making money, not spending a ton of money on courses and software up front. It's just not necessary. All right. God bless you, business building warrior. Let's jump over and meet Mike. So Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Jim. I'm super excited to be here.
Good to see you. Good to have you here, man. I want to get right into your story. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So my story is a little bit different than the others that have been on the podcast, and one that I've been involved in internet marketing or e-commerce since 1995. So I started working for another company when I was 18 years old. I turned 44 next week, so it's been quite the ride. But I started off pretty much affiliate marketing and selling, clicks on websites back in the mid 90s. And I actually was paid. Some guy paid me from California. I was living in Florida. He paid me to quit college and come work for his company. I'd never met him. My parents were so upset. How can you go work for someone you don't know and trust them and quit college? What are you doing? But
yeah, that was crazy territory. Those of us in the 90s who are figuring out ways to make money, the early 90s, make money on the internet, were a very rare breed for sure. So yeah, you're one of the pioneers, man. I love it.
Yeah, it was fun. And the company was a small company, maybe 5 people. We ended up doing some development work for AT&T on like a pocket net service where they did like sports scores and odds and all that. So that was a fun time, through what we call the wild west of the internet and all of that. So that was pretty good. But I branched off on my own. See, that was mid 90s. I branched off on my own in 2000. I started a development company. We did programming and website development and stuff for companies. And so I kind of slowly started working on my own and getting away from people who were, I guess, getting away from people who are telling me what to do. So
yeah, building your own business, right?
Exactly. So I really liked working for myself, and I was fairly successful at it. However, I went through divorce and kind of went through some real rough times for a while and lost everything and started back down, the connection route of, who do you know? And I was working in a sign shop for a while. This is 2006, 2007, kind of lost it all. And over the next 4 or 5 years, I really started to dive into e-commerce. I ended up working with an old connection, and I ended up teaching myself, teaching myself supply chain and operations. And, this guy just needed some help figuring out products online. And so I was a internet sleuth, if you will. And I liked searching. And so he's like, hey, why don't you come on? I'll pay you and, just help me figure out products, essentially private label. It's what everybody knows now is private label. They're the guys that sell stuff on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. So I did that for a while, and it developed into a role as actually VP of product and supply chain for a company that ended up, a private label product that hit it big. It was a sugar-free chocolate, and so it was kind of around the time of the keto diet and everything. So it really, really blew up, and that's what I did until March of last year. So it was getting pretty hot and heavy, and this is where my story really starts to get exciting. And it was getting hot and heavy in that I was working 18 to 20 hours a day. We were selling tons of product on the internet, and the store started to want their product. And I've always been remote. So since 1999, I've worked from home, unlike, a lot of people out there. And their business was getting so big that they decided to say, hey, Mike, we need you to move out to Arizona with us and work from the office. And I said, whoa, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Driving into work, I've never had that. So my wife and I, we kind of started planning and evaluating what we wanted to do with our life, and working in an office wasn't it for me. So 4 or 5 months prior, without really understanding anything of all this COVID craziness or anything, we planned. We downsized to one vehicle. We started cutting our costs. We started realizing what truly mattered to us. And to me, it's spending time with family. I didn't mention I'm a father of, I'm married. I have 3 kids. I've got a 21-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So the 2 older ones are out of the house now, living with their mom in California. And then the 7-year-old, I have with my current wife, and we're here. And we like to do the things that I didn't get a chance to do before, meaning we like to go hiking and spend time outdoors and all that. And
right.
so as an adult,
flexibility, you truly value the flexibility, time spent with family, and you built your life around that.
So and that's changed. I mean, my son and I, we put together a little YouTube channel of our hikes and stuff like that. And like we call them dad ventures. And that's really where I wanted my life to go. So I didn't want to work more in and off as a 16, 17-hour days and never see my family, but make a lot of money. So we decided to part ways with that company, and they were great. I still talk to them today. I have a very good relationship with them. But I left the first week of March 2020. So we know what happened right after that was
COVID.
I was out celebrating, and I was camping in the middle of the Smoky Mountains when all the COVID craziness happened. And so after a week, we come back into, one of the towns, I think it was Gatlinburg, and it was like a ghost town. Like imagine walking into Disney World at, after hours. There's nobody there. It was
during
crazy.
during peak season, middle of the day, walking in. So it was like Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah, it was completely.
But there's nobody
crazy.
there.
Yeah. So
crazy.
For us, I think I left that job at the right time. So, it was a horrible time for the world and certainly the U.S. economy, but great for someone who's trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. And so I was able to take an extended vacation, and I didn't work for pretty much all of 2020 and just kind of wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. We traveled, we did road trips across the U.S. and just camp in every state. So we did those fun things, and kind of fourth quarter came, and it's like, well, what do I do? I started talking to a former business partner of mine, and he pointed me to the My Silent Team Facebook group. He pointed me to your podcast, and he was like, hey, there's this course. And at the time he had a special on just the replens module. So he says, man, for whatever it was, $30 or something. He says, you can figure it out. He says, I'm doing 30, 40 grand a month. And, I think it's legit. He says, I think it's legit. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So December 23rd, I bought the course. And December 31st, I made my first sale. It was a FBM sale of a product that I did not have. I just looked at Walmart and said, oh, I can sell this. And so I listed the product, and it sold like 3 hours later. I was like, whoa. So try running out to Walmart buying a product New Year's Eve, 10:15 at night. It was a little crazy. But so I went through that process, and I ended up selling $12,000 in January of 2021. Pretty much that product, just like 8 different ASINs of the same product.
Oh, I like that. That's a good point to dig into just a little bit, because some people think it's about finding good products. It's not as much about finding good ASINs. And that's one of the things we drive into your brain when you go through our content is you're not looking for good products, you're looking for good winning ASINs. And that product might be listed the exact same product. Now, Amazon likes to think they have a nice, clean catalog, but they don't. One of my best sellers right now, for example, one of them that sells 1 or 2 a day, is the exact same product can be bought for less money using the same picture on another listing, but we charge more. And our listing gets plenty of activity as well. And people buy it all day, every day. They like having it shipped from us for some reason. We're selling it FBM, and it sells. I think we're selling it FBA too, actually. But there's 2 listings for the same product, which Amazon could come along at any point and shut one of them down, perhaps, I guess. But they haven't. It's been a year and a half
Right.
and
I like it
and the
when I
other
see
listing,
Amazon on both of the listings.
yeah, we're not on the other one because the price is so low. And there's a good handful of sellers beating each other up every day on that low
Right.
ranked ASIN. On that, I should say, when I say low rank, I mean like it ranks better than ours in the search.
Right.
Ours is on like page 3, but enough people find it, and there's only
Right.
us selling it right now at a higher price, and people buy it. Right. So yeah, same product, different ASINs, and that's part of what we drilled into you. So it sounds like you caught on to that lesson very quickly.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, I probably finished the course in 2 weeks, but I mean, I think of the replens module, I mean, the 0 to 10,000 section of that, I mean, I probably binge watched it like some people watch Lord of the Rings or whatever the current
Yeah.
TV show is.
You flew through it.
Yeah, I did. And that's really all. I mean, I didn't really think I needed the other stuff yet. I mean, anybody taking the course, I mean, 0 to 10,000, I mean, I think even halfway through that, you've got more than enough to launch your first product. I mean, I made several $1,000s before I finished that.
Yeah. Well, you made a sale within a week. You listed something, and we don't advise this, by the way. Put something up for
I don't
sale that you don't
advise it
actually have
either
to
because
have.
it's stressful.
Scramble over to Walmart and hope they actually have it in stock. Get yourself in a little
Yeah.
bit of
Fortunately,
trouble.
this was one of those ones that had hundreds and hundreds in stock, and I was
Yeah.
selling a 2-pack. So I
Yeah.
got lucky on that.
Yeah. But you discovered very quickly, once you know what you're looking for and how to do this thing, there's a lot of product out
For
there, as
sure.
you've discovered, right?
Yeah. So through January, I mean, I was running around and I mean, I was driving 250 miles away, clearing the shelves of every single Walmart in the area. I had learned that, different stores price match Walmart, and all you got to do is have Walmart app up. And, so I was clearing them out. And I realized I'm getting back to the life that I don't want. So I do again. I do a lot of camping, and February is good camping season. And I said, okay, that's it. I'm pulling the plug. I'm going FBA now that I made my money. So that was another issue I had, is because I hadn't worked in almost a year, I was very tight on budget. So I started with, I want to say, my wife said, okay, you can spend up to $1,500 on our personal credit card. And so that's what I started with. And I made $12,000 in sales off of $1,500 on my credit card. And then I would get paid and I'd quickly pay that off and I'd go buy more and I arbitraged that money and ultimately pushed it over to FBA. So my February wasn't so hot. It was half of what January was. I was bummed. But then March came and blew it out of the water. So, I was like, all right. So I hit 6,000 in February, and I think I was back up at 12,000, 11 or 12,000 in March, all FBA, no FBM at the time. So that's when every single day, I have what you say, the most valuable asset. I have time. I have what a lot of people don't have these days. And I didn't have money, where, those that are working probably have a little bit more money than time. So I would spend all day and devote 40, 50, 60 hours a week to finding new ASINs, to, going to the different stores. People got to know me in the stores, and I looked like the weirdo 4.5 hours in one aisle. And I looked up everything, and it took me a while, but, very quickly I got good. I got good at reading Keepa. I figured out my plan, and, it was a really great learning process for me. And I think I'm pretty good at Keepa and making those decisions right now.
So you left us off in March. Here we are, April, May, June, July, August. How's the last 5, 6 months gone for you? What's it looking like?
So I've pretty much, through June, I've averaged roughly $10,000 a month. And, like Jimmy said, that it's tough to break that hurdle. And it's just testing a ton of product and learning what works for you. In mid-June, we decided we're packing up, we're doing what we did last year, and we're going on a month-long road trip. Now, by road trip, we're not staying in hotels. We have a Subaru Outback. We pack it up, we've got our tent, and we just drive. So our goal was to head out west, and we went through Texas and New Mexico and Utah and Idaho, and we camped in the woods, not organized campsites or anything like that. We just find a campground. What we did is in Texas, we stopped off in Houston and we stayed with family for 2 days. And I brought my little zebra printer. I brought my boxes. I brought all that because I was going sourcing. And I sourced in, the Mecca, I don't know, HEB out there. I thought, oh, this is going to be so much better than where I'm sourcing in Florida. It wasn't. Their prices were higher than where I was. But I still sent in maybe, 100 different products in the 2 days that I was there. So I was feeding the beast. And then I kind of got used to being out in the woods. And I said, you know what? Forget this. I'm done. The end of my trip, I'm going to go through Walmart heaven in Bentonville, Arkansas. I'll source there too. But for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to enjoy myself. And I disconnected. So all of that, I ended up sourcing a little bit. So I sent probably 350 products total over 32 days, whereas I was sending in that much in a single week prior.
Right.
So we returned mid-June, a couple days actually before the Proven Conference. We came back because of the Proven Conference, which was here in Tampa. I live in Tampa. And my numbers were so low. It was depressing. I went from $500, $600, $700 days to, $50, $60 days. And so I was walking around with my head down at the Proven Conference. And I was like, man, this is my issue, but, I enjoyed my trip. So my goal of going to the Proven Conference, my is doing very well. My goal of going to the Proven Conference was to learn, to solve my money problem, number one, but then learn how to scale on a limited budget. Is that what can I do to scale further? And it delivered. And I'll share my other number with you, which is mind blowing for myself here to believe. I'm looking at it on the sheet of paper next to me, and I'm just proud. I'm very proud. So at the conference, I learned a lot from the speakers, but I learned more from those relationships that I built.
Absolutely.
So I'm always hearing you say it.
Yep.
But it's absolutely true. So I met people like Kang Dang, who's been on the podcast. Someone, Ryan Kimura, who recently posted his first $100,000 month. Josh Rojas, Abe, obviously talking to them. Anthony Beck, these guys, they were all very willing to share information. And actually prior to that, I had talked to someone who was on the podcast before, Chris Beam. She was on the podcast, but last second she wasn't able to make it.
Yeah.
So I had reached out to her.
So disappointing.
Yeah.
She's the one who came up with, she calls the private label model, the pants loss model. If you start there, you're going to lose your pants. Don't do it. Yeah. She's hilarious.
It's right. And, I reached out to her on after the podcast, and we kind of built a little bit of a relationship, but not much. But when I heard that she wasn't going to be able to make it, I offered to say, I'm going to take notes and I can share it with you. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
Oh, that's so cool.
Just reaching out to her a little bit. I built a relationship with her.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me, and she was like, oh, look for this. She's more advanced than me. So she led me in the right direction. And then talking to some of these other guys that I met, all of that coming together, I learned one thing is my mindset, even with all the e-commerce experience and everything that I had, I was thinking too little. I wasn't willing to take a risk. And so the biggest takeaway I got from the show is exactly this. I'm trying to sell my replens. I was looking for products that are cost me under $15, and I want to make $4 or $5 each on them. Why? Because that's what's taught. That's easy to achieve, super easy to achieve. You get something with 10 drops, makes you $5, and you do that 500 times over and over and over, and it's great. But how do you scale quicker? How do I make my money work better for me? And so people like King Dang and Ryan Kimura, they said, okay, you know Keepa now. You know how to find that 10 drop product. You know how to find a 50 drop product. You know how to make that $5, but you're not willing to spend more. So how do you get a bigger return? Is either you can sell 4 products, make $5 each, or you can sell 1 product that makes $20. And that made so much sense to me, is that, okay, at 10 drops, it's only going to sell so many times per month for me. 10 drop ASINs are everywhere.
Right.
And so it's just as easy to find one that makes you 20, 30, 40, even $50 as it is to find the one that makes you 5.
That's right. Once you're confident and you trust the chart, you trust your data, you've built up your confidence that, okay, this works, you can go drop with full confidence $100 or $200 on a product that's going to bring you $50 or $80 once everything's said and done, right? It's a little easier. When you're first starting, you don't start there, but it sounds like you're playing into slightly deeper waters now, right?
Yeah. So at the show, so right after the Proven Conference, I started putting some of this into play, and I'd kind of built some masterminds with some of the people that I met there. And I think I'd done maybe $68,000 by the end of the show for the year. On August 4th, so that's a couple days after the show ended, I forget, maybe a week or two.
Right.
I posted in the group that I made $75,000 for the year, and I was success. I was, yeah. On August 13th, I had cleared $100,000 for the year.
So 25 grand in just a few weeks.
Yes. Jim.
Nice. That's a huge leap. So were you rolling some of your profits more aggressively into higher priced product? Talk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So number one, the biggest issue I have is cash flow. So when you send products into FBA, it takes a couple of weeks to check in, and then you got to wait a couple of weeks after it sells to get paid.
Right.
So I signed up with one of the finance companies, a company called Payability.
Yes.
And for me, it works. I get paid daily. And
right. Yeah,
their cut is
great sponsor of the show. Yeah.
They're good. Their cut is like 2% of the overall, and I'm rounding the numbers. It's probably some other things, 2% of your overall sales, but it comes out to about 5% of my payout. So for me, with the margins that I had, and I'm operating, at the time I was operating about 25%, it makes sense. It's like, I need access to capital. If I don't have it, I can't buy the product. It didn't make sense. So I went and I financed that, and that gave me the daily cash flow. So I got back into FBM a little bit with some higher priced items that were hot. I could sell 20, 30, 50 of them a day, and you ship them out and you got money in your account the next day. And then I go out and I buy those products again because they're everywhere. They're plentiful. And I make more and more and more. And Jim, right before you and I got on the call here, I cleared $80,000 for this month. In August so far, I've got $80,000.
You've sold 80 grand in August.
80
That's
grand.
tremendous.
August,
what's your margin?
It's 21.5%. So that's after the cost of my boxes. That's after the cost of everything, except for paying myself.
Wow. Clearing 20% on 80 grand. That's phenomenal. Congratulations.
Jim, thank you. I'm thankful every day, and I owe it 100% to attending the Proven Conference and building the relationships with those other people who attended.
Yeah. And you've shared the majority of the advice that pushed you over the edge too. I mean, there's no secret insider, like only the people who are on the true inside get the good information. We don't do that here. We share very openly. Here's how it works. And we have plenty of people that just listen to this podcast and kind of experiment and play around and figure it out. I mean, I don't know why you'd avoid paying $29 a month for a course that spells it out and keeps you up to date, but some people don't want to do that. Okay.
It's worth it. I'm still shocked. I mean, I've got a lot of experience in e-commerce, and I wanted to go to the show, and I wanted to kind of vet you out, you and everybody else, to see, if there was other intentions or anything. I was skeptical because doing business on the internet, you learn to be skeptical.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was just stunned of
Well,
everybody
I'll
that I
tell you a
met.
story, Mike. You'll appreciate this, man. Early on, when I was first getting into internet marketing, I had just gone full time. I worked for Microsoft, and this is in what year was this? Well, we're coming up on 20 years ago.
Wow.
Hasn't been quite that long, like around 18, 19 years. But I had just gone full time in internet marketing, selling on eBay. The first versions of my book were starting to sell. I had a few clients I was coaching. The Jim Cockrum coaching program was basically me and 8 students at that point, right? So
Right.
I went to this internet marketing event. Man, I was excited. And I didn't have that skepticism. I was just thrilled to be around other people who were doing what I do and who were making a go at this, using the internet creatively to launch businesses from home and waking up, with their families around them and having a nice long breakfast if they want to. If the weather's nice, you go camping or you go to the zoo that day. And if you want to work, you work. And just was amazed by this whole new world. But I went to this event and it was instantly deflating and discouraging
Wow.
because it was speaker after speaker after speaker with a $3,000 to $8,000 offer. And I overheard them comparing notes. Who could get the most people to run to the back of the room and buy the course, buy the content, buy the whatever. And I was sickened by it. And I met some really good people there that are great friends to this day. They were sickened by it too. And I determined in that moment, if I'm ever at a point where I'm hosting events, you're going to pay a low ticket price and there's going to be nothing sold. It's just going to be content and good connections and relationships and friendships. And yeah, we're going to make sure the bills get paid. I want to pay my team. I'm not afraid to collect money for good content, services, and courses. That doesn't bother me a bit because there's value there. But it's not going to be a pitch fest. It's going to be about the community. So I love that you came in with that skeptical, because you've probably been to those pitch fest events. They're not hard to find. They're starting to die out a little bit. It's hard to, you can destroy your reputation hosting those things pretty fast, but that's not what we do. We've done 9 events now, 8 of them in person, I think, 9 total. One had to be virtual because of COVID, but it's like you just said, Mike, everyone comes away saying, man, it was the relationships. And yeah, the content's good. And now I've got the recordings and I'll watch the videos, but I skipped a few sessions out in the hallway meeting, some of our coaches, some of the other successful students in our community,
Mm-hmm.
some people who just like staying under the radar with multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're there to share their ideas. You never know who you're going to run into. So yeah, I appreciate that perspective. But if you got anything else to share too, but I thought I'd just fill in the back story. Like I was there myself, where you kind of like that skeptical. The other events I went to after that, I came in with my arms crossed and left my wallet in the room, if you know what I mean. I'm like, I'm here to learn, guys, not sign up for 8 coaching programs.
Yeah. I felt a lot of the same stuff. I mean, I tried to stay away from the pitch fests in the past because I would go 4, 5, 6 trade shows a year for 20 plus years, and all internet marketing focused. And it's generally all everybody going. I mean, we always just say, you don't go to the seminars or anything like that. You don't learn anything because they just rehash everything. You go to the center bar, you go to where everybody is hanging out at the hotel and you meet people. So I haven't been afraid of relationships. I haven't been afraid of talking. And that's ultimately what led me to building these relationships. I mean, I was talking to someone at the end of the show one day, and I said, hey, you want to go outside, or, you want to come back? We had one of the balcony 2-bedroom rooms. I said, we want to come sit out and continue talking on the balcony. And I brought my family with me. I had my wife, my 7-year-old son, and actually my 70-year-old mother-in-law with me.
Wow. She was there with us too.
Yeah, she's the one at the end of it. We had to call the ambulance, and she kind of had a bout of dehydration.
That was her. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I was off site at the time and only heard about it. I'm so sorry. I'm glad she was okay. I heard she was okay the next day. It was just dehydration. I'd heard her.
It was dehydration, but she'd had some health issues in the past, so she was concerned, and she insisted that the paramedics took her in and everything.
Yeah, my phone started blowing up with people texting me like, hey, be praying. Someone's in ambulance is here for one of the attendees.
Yeah. To speak of the good people at the show, as the huge fire truck and ambulance and everybody, as they rolled up, I'm out there, and of course, that's right as it starts pouring down rain.
Yes.
Uh, Behind the fire truck shows Anthony Wayne Beck. He shows
Yes.
up. He's
One
like,
of our
and we had
coaches.
just talked, and he had met my son, and he says, "Hey, Mike, do you need anything? Is everything all right?" And I briefly told him. He says, "Well, we're here for you. Do you need us to watch your son?" He's like, "I could come up and help out or whatever." I mean, he said he was just walking by, but to me, it was magical. Like, really, these are the people that are here. I was stunned. Everybody at the show. I mean, I didn't meet a single person that I didn't think was genuine, and that was genuine in every belief that they have, every belief that is presented on this podcast. And, I mean, I just truly loved it. And he texts me at, midnight that night. "Hey, how's everything going?"
Hmm.
And it's like, man, these people are wonderful. I mean, they really are wonderful. And that kind of restored my faith in internet commerce, if you will, like meeting other people who are in it and they're not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
shady.
Yeah. I love the direction we're going here. And there's some intentionality behind it. It doesn't happen naturally. One of the weaknesses of internet business is it disassociates people. It separates people. I actually had an opportunity to tell one of the senior vice presidents at Amazon, he who asked me a great question. He's like, "Hey, if you were in charge of Amazon, what changes would you make around here?" As a guy who sees the third party selling space and understands it and works with these people, what change would you make? And I shocked him with my answer, because I said, what Amazon's doing is it's destroying the potential for relationships. And you may have heard me share this story before, but I said, you separate the buyers and the sellers. We're not allowed to build relationships. And that lack of relationship is where the internet struggles. And we look as people building businesses online from home, and we think, oh, I can just separate myself out and not associate with others. I just want to get behind my glowing keyboard and make some money. Someone show me how to do it. Well, that doesn't work long term. You need people, you need community, you need relationships. And we drive that home so much that our events, I think it was our coaching director, Nathan, that first said it. He said, "You're going to see more hugs than handshakes." We're doing life together. We call each other up, we check in on each other, we pray for each other. Our families get together on trips, and there's people who think back, they attend each other's weddings, right? Or stand up. We've had people get
Right.
married and stand up as best men, in each other's, or better yet, weddings happening in our community. The story of Jeff Clark and
Wow.
Diana Wallace both losing their spouse, commiserating at an event. A couple of years later, they're married, and just these beautiful connections. And so, yeah, we're all about doing life together. And that has become bigger than the business component of it. If you really dive in, it's a few thousand of us that this is like family to us, and we take it very seriously with arms wide open, and the doors are always open for new people to come in. And I'm glad you experienced that, Mike. That's pretty cool for me to hear that, while I'm away and I'm not even anywhere near people people that are on our team, our coaches and leaders, and other just random people in our community are just great quality people. And business builders tend to be pretty cool people. I've noticed over the years, someone who's running a successful business, there's a 99% chance you're dealing with a grounded, servant minded, because you got to be to run a business. You got to be willing to serve. Just good quality people. There's a lot of them out there. So yeah, I love hearing those stories. I didn't know the backstory on whose mom it was. I knew it was somebody's mom.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's okay. And, where I was going before we took that tangent was I invited several people, several days in a row. I invited, just to come hang out on the balcony and let's have a little bit more intimate of a conversation. My wife actually made us dinner and everything while we were out there. And so it was kind of neat, but we see everybody walking by and say hi to everybody. But doing that, just asking, nobody said no. Anybody said, "Hey, you want to take this out here? There's no other, we don't want to be the last ones in here. Let's go out by the pool or whatever." Everybody said yes. It was great. Mm-hmm. So, building those relationships was really, really big for me and instrumental. Now, I left out part of my story, and I've actually spoken to you before on the Clubhouse app, because at the end of April, my account was suspended.
Oh,
so
okay.
For 2.5 weeks, two and a half weeks, my account got suspended. because I made a rookie mistake. I listened to Amazon seller support.
Ooh, caution.
I took them at their word and they were wrong. So what does that mean is that I received an IP complaint for a bag of beans that I bought at the local grocery store. And I was convinced. I was like, well, it said it was an IP complaint that came through as a copyright infringement thing. So it's like came under the same same header in your performance notifications. And I was like, well, this is legit. I've got all my receipts and everything. And so I went into that cocky, and I contacted the seller support and I told them, so this is legit. I could send in whatever. And they said, oh, your account health is in good standing. You've got nothing to worry about. Don't worry about it. Okay. So I didn't worry about it. But what they didn't tell me is just reply to the performance notification. The complaint, you have to reply. So if anybody gets anything out of this podcast, reply to everything instantly. Even if you're saying, hey, I'm going to look into this, or thank you very much. I want you to know this is received. I'll respond appropriately shortly. Just reply. 10 days after that message was sent with no reply on the dot, my account was automatically suspended. Had I just replied, there would have been no suspension. So trying to get my account back was hard. So that's where Scott Margolius came in. And he's such a nice, genuine guy that, he was responding to my frantic Facebook messages and in the group and, on the situation at hand. And he helped me and he walked me through the process. And it was simple enough. And I mean, I think I'm probably a little bit more advanced in some of my responses than others just through my experience in the past. So I had already formulated a couple different plan of actions. And, he advised me, okay, well, I would go this route, whatever. But ultimately what got me suspended was getting a retraction, much quicker to get a retraction. Because again, Amazon seller support or account health support, they all conflict with each other. I don't think any of them truly knows the answer of what's going on.
Yeah, there's certainly some inconsistencies in there. And I love that you gave a plug to Scott Margolius as well. He's actually got a great book out, if you haven't grabbed it yet, titled Plans of Action.
I do, yes. Yeah. I have it, yeah.
Great book. I was honored to get one of the first copies. And he's kind of our go-to expert guy for these situations. And I think he would tell you that you don't want to not respond. He would completely agree with you there, but you want to be cautious in how you respond as well. That's one of the things he kind of digs into in the book, but you don't want to just ignore these complaints. Of the small handful of permanent suspensions that I've ever seen, I always tell people I can count on one hand after doing this for well over a decade, teaching people how to sell on Amazon. I've count on one hand permanent suspensions. And of those, 2 or 3 of them arguably were because they just ignored a good handful of IP complaints. And then when they did start to address it after being suspended, they couldn't get it back. So you don't want to just ignore them. You're absolutely right. But Scott digs into that. And actually, the podcast episode that was released just yesterday, as we're recording this, it would have been episode like 380, 5 or 6, something like that, is with Scott talking about account health issues and those kind of things. So if you haven't seen it, that was just released. Now you and I are recording this and will probably be a few weeks before it's released. But I think you go back to episode 385, 386. It's account health with Scott Margolius, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Good one to check out for sure. Hey, business building warrior, quick update. One of our sponsors, Payoneer.com. They're tremendous. They've got up to $750,000 without a credit check to help you grow your Amazon or Walmart business. These guys are a proud sponsor of this program. Thank you for checking out their offer at payoneer.com/funding. That's PAYONEER.com, payoneer.com/funding. Thanks for the sponsorship. Go check these guys out. Now, you and I are recording this and will probably be a few weeks before it's released. But I think you go back to episode 385, 386. It's account health with Scott Margolius, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Good one to check out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was out sourcing all day yesterday and I just completely passed out at around midnight. So I didn't get a chance. But so, I resolved that it was, I guess that was relatively quickly, but 2.5 weeks is what it took, even after a retraction. So it just took time. And it was the end of my world. I was posting all over the group. I talked to you guys on, I think you had the clubhouse, and everybody was kind of answering, giving their feedback. I was like, it's the end of my world. I've got $9,000 due to me. I missed the payout. So I had, credit card payments and everything coming out. And I was like, no, it's the end, but it wasn't. And actually after that, so that was end of April, beginning of May, it was undone. May was my highest month yet. And then June surpassed that. So it grew because I kept up with the replens. I wasn't buying when it was suspended. I was freaking out. I wasn't spending any money, but I had already had my set of replens. I was up to 240 ASINs.
So, yeah, that's a good number. That's great. And I vaguely remember that call. We did a good handful, and we're going to be doing more of those free Clubhouse, just kind of getting in front of everybody. It's like listening to a radio show. I'll stick a link to it in the show notes today if people don't know what it is. It's a free app, and it's kind of like a radio call-in show experience on an app where you can join the host and talk, and then you can jump back into the crowd and listen. It's pretty cool stuff. But I don't remember specifically what we would have told you, but I have a feeling we were saying, hey, it's going to be okay. Stay calm. We see it all the time. No problem. Right. And I'm glad to hear the resolution.
Right. Yeah. So it was good. It worked out. And, a little bit more takeaway from all that is now I completely understand my account health. I didn't know that you should look at your account health several times per day. I thought you get notifications for this stuff. Like, oh, they notify you. No, I've had things pop up. Fortunately, that was my only IP complaint, but I've had other things pop up on there that I didn't get any notification about. It was just me. And, I look at it and I'm like, oh, wow, this customer complained about something or NCX score or whatever. And I was able to address it. And had it not, who knows how that would have affected things. But as soon as you get those little blips on your account health, it affects your sales. All of a sudden it's like, man, I'm cranking along, I'm getting buy box and got one little thing there. And it's like, wait, I didn't get any sales until I resolved it, so pay attention to that.
Your account health can affect how often you're winning the buy box. That's for sure. Yeah. So you don't want to go more than a couple days for sure without checking it. And if you can, most of us as Amazon sellers are checking our stats. Check your account health as well. And again, Scott goes into it in the book, and there's a great course actually in that podcast episode too, for those who really want to dig into it and be super, if this is your livelihood, this is your income, you owe it to yourself to be very educated on these types of things. And Scott's got a new course with content that can really help you run a tight ship. And we're excited to be rolling that out to the community. So that just went live here as we're recording this a couple of days ago. But as people are hearing this episode, it'll be a few weeks ago that just went live. So yeah, good content. I'm glad we spent some time. I didn't realize we'd be spending time on that today.
So, yeah, it's a good book and it's an easy read. It's important for people to know that as well. I think I got through the whole book in maybe 2 hours. And so it's enough for you to get an understanding of what could go wrong and what to do if it does. But, and then easy to reference back if you ever do have a problem. Hopefully I don't, but knowing what I know, having gone through it, it's a very good read. So I recommend it.
Well, thanks for taking us through that. I appreciate the chance to plug Scott's book. He's a great dude. He's helped a lot of people in our community for sure. Well, I want to hear some lessons. You just had your incredible, again, congratulations, an $80,000 month. That's phenomenal. Like that's the most recent month. And so what are your goals for as we go into Q4? How do you want to, what's your total for the year? And then I want to get into some lessons, maybe some tips or strategies that you have for the listeners after that.
Sure. So currently I am at $146,500 for the year so far. So doing the math, that's $80,000 in August. I'm expecting to break 90,000 if everything continues to go the way it is. I don't expect it to roll much longer, so I'm doing FBM for some seasonal-ish products, heavier seasonal-ish products. So I expect that to kind of die down next month, but hopefully I've got I've learned enough through this process that I'll be able to find the next thing. And more importantly for me is all of the funds that I'm making from this is rolling back in, and that's going to fund my growth into FBA. So I believe FBA replens are, I mean, that's the bread and butter. That's the steady supply of it's always going to be there. As long as you keep feeding it and you follow that business, that's where you're going to pay your bills. And these other little things like I'm doing and I'm having great success at now, that's the fun stuff. That's like, all right, that's I guess I don't know the analogy, but that's where, you can make those big wins, the bank, maybe like Q4, everybody says Q4 is so great. I mean, that's what these little wins are. So, it's a windfall. It's financing the business. It's going to allow me to jump to the next level. And, I'm fortunate enough that we're not relying on my income right now. So I can roll all of that back into the business. But, so where do I want to go for Q4? I'm hoping that I can get to at least $50,000 a month revenue. And I believe probably Q4 that's achievable. I imagine, $40,000 a month was my goal as I start this. I need $40,000 a month to live my life and reinvest in the business. But I want that dream of, what was the book, a 4-hour work week or something.
Yeah.
I want that dream of doing that because I don't want to be behind the computer. I've done it for years. I want to spend time with my family. I want to go hike the Appalachian Trail. I want to do these fun things, and enjoy my son. So, and he's into it. I'm a scout leader and all that other fun stuff too. So we get to do all
that's
that.
awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
I have great memories of my scout leader at that age. Yeah. So
really?
it sounds to me like you're starting to, you've figured out how to blend these things together. Is your son involved in the business at all? Or have you explored that? I know he's still on the young side, but
he sources with me every day.
Beautiful.
So last year we started homeschooling through what they call virtual school in Florida here.
Good
and
for you.
It's not the Zoom classes or anything. It's like a homeschool curriculum that's online. And then we meet with the teacher at the end of every chapter, and they quiz him. He's second grade this year. So it's very much homeschool. It's something that we can do. My wife takes off 2 days a week. She does majority of that with him, and I'm outsourcing. But every other day, he's shopping with me. I've got picture upon picture. People know him. Yesterday, he went shopping in a Paw Patrol costume. So he's on the end of the basket, and he's in Paw Patrol
I'll just tell you,
costume.
man, dad to dad, there's no classroom experience. There's no teacher out there who's got a degree from some prestigious university where they teach educators how to educate. None of them can come close to instilling in that kid the lessons that he's getting from going to dad, sourcing, going out in this Paw Patrol costume, finding stuff, helping prep, pack, find, learning what it means to run a profitable business. No, that toy's not for you, buddy. That toy's actually going to be sold to some other kid. Like, those are valuable lessons. So great job,
Absolutely.
man. I commend you.
Yeah, thanks. He, and he actually has picked out a replen. It was several months ago. Daddy, you should try this. And I looked it up, and I'm like, wow, how many should we get? He says, let's buy 5. And I said, well, let's do 6. It was a 2-pack. So I said, let's go ahead and get 6. And we did it, and it's still one of those. It's on the level of what I was talking about earlier, the $4 or $5 profit.
Blows me away how often that happens. The spouse or the kid or somebody, a friend, you're just like, okay, you think you could sell this? I'm like, well, probably not. I'm the expert. I see the stuff that's good. I have instincts. You don't. I was like, holy cow, 80 drops a month on 2 sellers. Yeah, we're grabbing this right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So, is he involved in the business? I mean, he shops with me every day. He enjoys it. Occasionally, he'll get some iPad time or something like that for 20 minutes, but majority of the time we're talking. We're in the store. We're talking about the products. Here lately, I'm buying a lot of the same, the success this month is off like 8 or 10 different products. Right. And we're shopping a lot there, and it's, we can't buy enough. Yeah. But, he helps me list them. He's like, ooh, Dad, can I do that? And so I've kind of showed him the app, and he helps me enter in that we got new ones. So as they're in the cart, They go online, they're in inventory. And for this stuff, I mean, very often, more than not, it's sold before we check out.
That's
So,
incredible.
that's pretty nice. And I'm like, okay, we got to go back. Let's go back in there and grab the rest of those.
Yep.
So we get to the car, we unload it, and do that. But he sits, I do all my prep and ship and packing and everything out of my garage. We got a 2-car garage, and it's all set up there, and so he does a lot of that with us. And and it's good bonding time together, if you will. I mean, I really do enjoy it.
That's fantastic, man. Well done. You've probably heard me say if you've been around a while in the community, but I, for the heart of a dad, I understand. I don't know what it feels like to be a mom. I love seeing moms be able to be home and be flexible and build businesses, but I don't understand what it feels like to be a mom doing those things. But I love seeing dads come home because I know what that feels like. I know what it felt like to me when I got to do it almost 20 years ago. I know what it feels like now. I don't have to get in the car at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning before everyone's awake and come home after everyone's already tired and had a long day and maybe get an hour with them. God bless all the parents out there doing what they got to do to pay the bills and to provide for their family. We support you no matter what that routine looks like. But I know how great it feels to be doing life the way you are, the way that I
Absolutely.
am, that
I truly am living the
flexibility.
dream these days.
Yeah, man. And just knowing that the opportunities out there with just a handful of products, you're sold $80,000 and at 20% margin after everything's said and done. You put 16 grand in the bank and you're doing it with your kid and you're living a flexible schedule. And that's just the tip of the iceberg because it is the opportunities everywhere with the skills you've got. And you've been around a while too. I wouldn't mind hearing your perspective. I mean, you've been doing this internet marketing thing a long time. Put this in perspective. You've seen and done a lot of things. And I say it till I'm blue in the face. I've been on that same road, but people think it's self-serving to hear me say it. Put this in perspective, this replan opportunity compared to the other, 50 things you've seen come down the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, are you good at darts? Some people are. They could throw it at the board and they could hit the bullseye every time. But majority of time, you don't. Even those that know anything and everything. I got really good at spending other people's money. I was afraid of spending my own money, so I would consult, and I would, I wouldn't be an employee for people, but I would consult and help them spend their money because I'm very risk averse with my own. And so again, the analogy could be, regular internet marketing is like playing darts. And yeah, you're gonna get some wins, you're gonna get close, but really, Jim, and I hope you don't think I'm like trying to prop your ego here, but replens is like shooting fish in a barrel. It works, and it doesn't matter if what your education level is. It doesn't matter how good you are at working with computers. It works. It's a good system that works. Now, how quickly you can scale up, that's directly related to your effort and your willingness to figure things out. I'm that guy. I like to figure things out. I like to grow. I get obsessive about some things like, I've lost over 100 pounds weight. Why? Well, because I learned a lot about keto. And,
good for you. Dude,
yeah,
that's
thank
awesome. Yeah, you can't make plans to hike the Appalachian if you're carrying around an extra 100 pounds you shouldn't have on you, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, all that came about after I lost the weight. I was like, oh, look, I can do this stuff.
Look what I can do now. Good for you, man. That's so cool.
Yeah. Thanks. But at the Proven Conference, Oscar gave this, really great presentation that, I went and I sat in on it. And I was like, all right, he's going to tell us his secret for sourcing and all this. And really, he says, I bust my butt. I work hard. I work harder than you. I work harder than that person. I work harder than them. Because you may work harder than me, but my goal is to work harder than you. And he just buckles down and he works hard and he thanks God and he's grateful for the things that he has. And, really it's all true. The matter of scale and how hard you want to work. I mean, you can go down 20 different ways and hire people and alleviate a lot of that. But to start, you have to put in the time. So it's shooting fish in a barrel, but, again, how many fish do you want to catch? How many times are you going to take your shot? And that's what the replens is for me. I everybody starts off and they're like, oh no, I'm gated in grocery. I can't win because I'm gated in grocery. Well, I sold $12,000 my first month, and I didn't even know being in grocery was great.
Yeah.
But
You don't even know why do I need grocery?
right. But again, I was going to do replans, and I'm like, well,
Right.
everybody's doing grocery. So I spent some time, and I got ungated in grocery. And
Sure.
then I almost pigeonholed myself into grocery. I thought that was the mecca of that's where you needed to be to make these millions of dollars. And really, what grocery gave me is aisles and aisles and aisles and aisles of profitable ASINs. That's what grocery gave me. It gave me the chance to take shot after shot after shot after shot on the exact same day. I was able to do that. I didn't have to spend, hours and hours in between finding ASINs. I had to move 3 inches to the right.
Right.
I mean, they were right there, one right after the other. And you can make your mistakes. You can list on not the best ASIN. You could list on other ones that were still winners. And I didn't go 3, 4, 5, 6 pages deep. I looked, I was like, holy cow, this is a winner on first page. Great. Now I'm going to move on to the next thing. And I was able to build up to 240 ASINs really quick. Now, after the show, I've learned, okay, it's time to pump the brakes. Now I know that playing in the small, the little leagues, if you will, of, wanting to spend less than $10, $15, I was very, very scared. So now I can jump into the big leagues and swing a big bat and for the fastball and try to hit that home run. And, still I'm trying to stick to analogies here. If you say it, maybe, make first, a double or something along the way. And it worked. I mean, I clearly knocked this one out of the park with some help. These people that I met along the way, they point me in the right direction and cheer me on. But I'm able to take that information that I have and morph it into what works for me. So what does work for me? Getting into maybe some advice for people.
For
Where
sure.
do where am I shopping? The complete opposite side of the store of grocery. Because there's not very many grocery items you could buy that cost you $30 or $50 or $90. I mean, one of my ASINs cost me $120, $109, $109 cost. So, whoa, that's scary, right? And it was for me until I made that first sale for $245.
Right. How many, and you
What?
look at Keepa, how many drops does that have and how many other people are selling it? Talk us through the data a little bit on that one.
That particular one was over 80 drops and probably 30 other sellers. Mm-hmm. And it just moves. I mean, they can't keep them in stock.
Right.
It's like you go, I mean, that's probably the biggest tip of advice. And I've heard it said before is when you go to the store and you see what's out of stock, take note.
Right.
Look at what that is.
Look at the
everywhere.
Empty spots on the shelf. Get in there real close and look at that price tag. What is that product? Man, if I ever do see some of that, and I think that's where we start to develop the instinct as sourcers or actually get out of the stores is like, haven't noticed that on the shelf before. I wonder if that's good. It probably is. And you check and yeah, it is. There's a reason it's always out of stock is because that thing flies at a nice profit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good tips, man. We're dropping some gold nuggets today for sure.
Yeah, thanks. So again, that works in grocery too. I mean, it really does work in grocery, but to scale up, I found that I've got to get away from that. Now I still plan on keeping, I went through and I did my buy list yesterday and I think I have like 30 ones that fit this new mold of what I'm, trying to achieve. And it's like, okay, I'm going to get rid of all the others and I'm going to stick with these 30 and I'm going to build off of these 30. And so moving away from grocery, I mean, it doesn't have to be all the way to the other side. Around the grocery aisle, you've got all the, I'm going to say the cosmetics, but like the shampoos, you've got, the whatever, the smelly stuff that girls like, all that fun stuff
without
there.
Expiration dates. And, you can get into some higher price stuff there. And the kitchen goods and kitchenwares and, the stuff that goes in that part or the stuff that goes in the bathroom, and it just, there's opportunity all over the place. And I love that you're starting with the price tag And that's probably some
Right.
pretty decent advice. I don't know if I've ever actually given that specific advice, but you're probably smart to go, okay, I'm not going to look at anything unless it costs at least $30
Mm-hmm.
today. Just see what I can find. It costs at least
And,
$50.
your
See what I
general
can
rule of thumb that, I'm sorry for interrupting, the
go
general
ahead.
rule of thumb that you gave before is, you said you go to, speak to someone at the local grocery store and, maybe the manager, and you say, hey, if you can buy this or you could sell it to me for 1/3 of what it is on Amazon,
Exactly.
hey, let me know.
Give me a call.
That,
Yeah.
that's a good one. On the more expensive stuff, it's probably 2.5, two
Yeah.
and a half
Or,
times. So
or even double. Yeah. When you get up into 50
yeah,
bucks, hey, if you can sell it to me for 50 and you see it on Amazon for 100, give me a call. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that is a golden nugget there for sure. So, take note. That is one that's actually what was given to me. Almost the exact same advice was given to me. It's like, you know, look for something that sells 2 or 3 times more, but has a very, much higher price tag. Get out of where you're going. Go into the lawn and garden section, the stuff with boxes that look like they're difficult to ship. Go to, the sports and outdoors section. Go to, any of this. I've stayed away from electronics, but from what I understand, there's stuff over there that's not electronic that still costs a lot, that has some value
Yeah.
in this area.
The stuff that has warranties on it, it's a little dicey. I don't play around with
Right.
that typically, especially the higher end stuff with warranties. I don't play around with that, but there's plenty of other stuff in the electronics department. I bought a bunch of surge protectors once and just made a killing till I couldn't find them anymore. Those things flew. It was a certain
Really?
brand, certain price range. Sold a ton of them. Yeah, they're just
Yes.
so. And it was like a gold mine. Usually, when you see a big pile of something at the store, you're like, that can't be that good. So I'll check it anyway. And it was a gold mine. I bought all of them as much as they could
Oh
get.
man.
Yeah, they flew.
But
But
so anyway, so I think moving away from your comfort zone is definitely it. Getting away from being risk averse. It's not a risk. You cut your teeth on, and I cut my teeth on learning how to read Keepa. I know I'm good at it. I know I'm probably not the best, but I know I'm good enough to know that this one has 10 drops. It's worth taking a risk, or this has 20 or 30 drops. It's worth taking a risk. If it's worth taking a risk at $5 or $10 cost, it's worth taking a risk at $40 to $50 cost. And it's going to get you to where you're going that much quicker. So think again, you could sell 4 for $5 profit or 1 for $20 profit. And so we know at 10 drops on Keepa, okay, well, that's going to give me my share. I don't know. I sell 5 a month. Well, I could sell 5 and make 20. That's $100 a month, or I can make $25. What do you want to do?
right. Right. It makes total sense. And once you're confident and comfortable with the training, you're scaling up. You're slowly scaling up. And we often kind of joke around, like a lot of replens sellers start off at the dollar store. And
Mm-hmm.
you're just ecstatic to find things that you can buy for $1, sell for 12, put $3 or $4 in the bank. Like, this is amazing. But there's so
Mm-hmm.
much more opportunity out there in the higher priced items. You find yourself slowly drifting into those categories, and that's where some of these multiple 7-figure sellers, and what inevitably happens, and it'll happen to you too, Mike, is then the wholesale opportunities just start popping through, and then the private label opportunities kind of organically just start popping through, and then you've got a serious, you look over your shoulder
Right.
like, wow, look at this journey. And I love seeing that happen for sellers. What a
So
great
I
story,
actually
man.
do have a couple wholesale accounts,
You're already in
and
it.
they were, with my history. I mean, that's one of the things that I do is, I found a company I bought at a local grocery store for a packet of mix or whatever that they had. And I look on the back and I'm like, wow, that's from my town. Let me call them up. Sure enough, they give me 25% off the price that I bought it at the grocery store. And it's still, I've got one product. So one SKU with them is on 6 different ASINs.
Is it all
And
single
I just
packs,
sell
or are
it.
you talking multi packs and
No, we're
bundles?
talking multi-packs.
Mm-hmm.
So I sell it the single. I sell it in a double pack. I sell it as high as a 6-pack. And then they've got another product that is bundled with it. So
Right.
there's
And you
another
sell
ASIN
on
that
all of them.
is bundled with it.
And you didn't set up any of those listings, I take it.
No, I didn't set up
Right.
any. I
Good.
was actually just approached by the manufacturer of that. It's an older gentleman. Last time I went to buy product, he says, "Hey, I just got this in. I haven't sold it anywhere." He supplies this seasoning to restaurants everywhere, and he said, "I just got this in. You're gonna be the first person." He says, "Why don't you take a case and let me know what you think about it?" So I tried it. I was like, "Man, this is good product." And he says, "Well, when you want to create the listing for it and go for it." And I mean, he doesn't do anything online, so he's an old fashioned guy. Someone else, one of his other customers, created the listing for the other stuff, but he gave me this one. And so far, I mean, I did the first thing I created, or I created two of them already, so a one and a two pack. But I'm going to bundle it with his other stuff. It goes all together. So it's just slowly learning that process. But it is a wholesale account, so it's there. I call him up. The difference is, he delivers the stuff to restaurants, and I just go pick it up because it's right next to actually one of the stores that I source at.
Yeah,
So
that's great. And they're getting the relationships and slowly scaling into new territory. Yeah, you're on a
mhm.
brilliant path, man.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm just shocked that I'm where I am right now. I'm grateful for all the people that I met. I'm grateful for having a very supportive wife that she just looks at me and she says, "I trust you. If you think you can do this, I trust you, and I know you're not going to do anything to harm our family. So you're a good man." And that's what I like. That's what I value now. When I was in my 20s and early 30s, I didn't value those things,
Right.
and now that's what truly matters is
Good for you, Mike.
family
Man,
and making sure you're doing things right. So
beautiful
every
story.
decision I make, I mean, it's a family business, and by family business, I'm really, other than my 7-year-old son, I'm the only one that works in it. My wife occasionally will help me pack, but that's not her thing. She's not into it, but she's involved in almost every decision I make. Hey, I'm going to spend this amount of money. I'm going to do this. Are you okay with this? What do you think? I brought her to the show because she's a much better judge of character than I am.
Yeah.
So,
Females typically are. Guys were very smart to listen to our wives in that arena for sure.
oh yeah, she could have saved me so much headache over the years, former business partners and whatnot.
Amen. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, I'm just grateful to be here. I'm super grateful that I've sold $80,000 in a single month. Is
Yeah.
just
And we're not even through
insane.
August yet. We got to say, I mean, we kind of blew past that, but you're looking to maybe hit 90 in August. I mean, because we still got, a few
Hmm.
days left here. So that's a
Yeah,
phenomenal, man. Good
I mean,
work.
I did $6,500 last month, Jim. Six
Right.
thousand $500 in July, $80,000 in August.
You put the stuff you learned at the conference and the tips you picked up and the strategies you share with us today, you put it into practice and you had an $80,000 month. That's
I'm
just
not
phenomenal.
doing anything, groundbreaking. I'm not
No.
reinventing, the wheel.
Right.
I'm doing what was taught,
Mhm.
and it's just with products that are available.
Yeah.
And they're probably more available in my area than some of the other areas, maybe more than your area. But that's the advantage. I mean,
Right.
I can take and look. I mean, one of the ways that I source, um, I go through and I look at everybody's store. You come in. I guess you guys call that reverse sourcing, right? So you go look at everybody's store. They're selling the same product as me. I look for people in my area. This guy's in my area, so I look at his store and I'm thinking, well, he's sourcing in my area, so these are products that are going to be available to me. So I use that, and then I go down the rabbit hole from there. That's how I was quickly able to scale to 240 ASINs. But from that, I mean, I could find your store or anybody else's, and I guarantee you've probably got products that I can't get here, or you've got, what I learned on my road trip is that you've got products that every day are one price for you, and for me, they're 45 cents each more, and maybe that's 15-20% more, and it's not profitable for me.
Right. There's
So
regional advantages and disadvantages no matter where you live. You're hitting the nail on the
absolutely.
head. And that's what we encourage a lot of people to hit the regional stores. And even if you see the list of ASINs that other people sell, they're like, ooh, that's a secret goal. I even had someone come up to me at our conference, like, hey, I think I know which store is yours. Are you blah, blah, blah? And he gave me the name. I'm like, yep, that's me. And he's like, I'm going to look at your products. Like, that's fine. Good luck finding 75% of them. It's like,
Yeah.
because unless you live in my hometown, but even if you do, like you said, one of your best sellers, there's 30 other sellers on it. And you can't
Hmm.
find them fast enough. You're selling. So it's not about like, oh, this is my product. It's a different mindset as a replen seller. There's always going to be other
Hmm.
sellers on the product. That doesn't bother us. That just means it's a good seller. And unless someone comes along and tanks the price, which means they're going to sell out real fast and figure out, hey, I just lost money. I don't want to do that again. And they're going to come back in at the right price. There's just so little risk involved as you play this game. And there's an opportunity for us to be very cooperative with each other as well. It really is a fun model.
It is, and that's actually something that you mentioned. You're going to sell it at a loss or whenever a tank comes in. I mean, you're not really losing much money. There are the guys that for some reason I think they must buy the product for half of what I pay because they consistently come in and tank the price. I'm like, why would you take something that's selling at $30 and not even like drop it to 25, but you're like throwing it in at 18? That's how you come into here. Like, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense. But my business isn't their business. All I
Yeah.
know is that there's some ASINs, and there's probably of those 240, I may have taken maybe 40 of those, and I just wiped them out. And I said, okay, I'm just going to try to get rid of the product. And sometimes I'm taking a couple dollar loss each. But what that did is I've already had profit on the ASIN. It gave me an influx of cash. It's like, okay, I'm
Right.
no longer committed to these. I don't need to wait around. But it gave me the influx of cash in order to buy other profitable products.
Yeah. You can purge out your least exciting 20% pretty much anytime you want to in this business and not feel
Yeah.
the hit and focus a little more on their top 20%, put a little more energy into those. Am I on every ASIN that I could be? Am I going as deep as I could in this category? Are there other related products in the same brand? And spend time up there. So purging and adding, focus on those top 20 and bottom 20 is a good strategy anytime. And you can put more money in your pocket very quickly.
Yeah, you're much
Any
better
other
spoken
final?
than I am with that stuff.
Well, I've seen it. I've seen it thousands of. We've had 7,000 coaching students, and all of our coaches are smarter than me, but I listen to them when they talk.
Right?
But
Yeah.
any final tips or strategies or things? We need to start wrapping this one up. This has been a tremendous episode, but it did go a little long. But I think people are going to devour this. This is one of those people might want to listen to a couple times because if you're unfamiliar with the terminology and the different things we're talking about, you really need to go through the Proven Amazon course, the Replens module. If you're brand new, go through Amazon 101 module. It's in the course, get you up to speed, and then go through the Replens training. And you can jump into this very quickly and then get into the wholesale and private label down the road. But that's the path we like to put our students on. We're here to coach as well if you want to get up to speed quickly. But I'm going to give our guests the last shot. Any other tips or strategies, anything that you were hoping to hit today before we move forward and start to land this one?
So I think I've covered a lot of the strategies, but what I really want to drive home is number one, you could do this on a low budget. I started with, like I said, $1,500 on my credit card, and I sold $12,000 the first month. I got lucky. The very first product I look at was a winner, but it does work. Cut your teeth on the low risk items, the low dollar, low risk items. Learn. Wait till you get a couple winner, where you're just picking out winners left and right. You get 80% of the ones you get are winners. That does happen. So pick those winners out and learn the process. And then once you have that, trust yourself. Trust what you've learned. This is a system that works. It just is. I mean, I've been around for, oh my goodness, since 95 doing internet marketing. This just works. And it was brought to me by someone I wholeheartedly trust that did exactly that last year. He was making, a lot of money. He trusted it. He brought it to me. It's still working for him. And I just trust the process. Once you know the Keepa is it. I mean, you've got Keepa and RevSeller is pretty much all you need. I also use Inventory Lab that makes sourcing and adding products, especially with expiration dates and all that, makes it really easy to do in store. Replen Dashboard, use that. They've made a lot of really great improvements, even in the last 30 days to the product. So those are really nice to haves, but Keepa and RevSeller, I think, are the must haves for me in my business. If you're sourcing, RevSeller makes it easy to figure out what your actual costs are. But Keepa is the holy grail. It costs, what is it, $18 a month or something?
Something like that. Yeah, it's the only. I think it was episode 369, I believe, that I go into why Keepa is the only tool you need when you're getting started here. A few bucks a month. Don't buy any other tools. Get the proven Amazon course, get Keepa. You'll prove to yourself that it works. And within $100 spent, you're going to know that we're on to something here. And then you can ramp up.
My final tip for you, Jim, is learn from what I have, how to prevent IP complaints. So I listed on a product that had a misspelling in the brand name. So think about this, brand names are trademarked. So the trademark name, if there's a misspelling, or in my name, I'll tell you the name, it was Camellia Brands Beans. This one said Camellia New Orleans style beans. So the trademark was Camellia Brands. So the products were legitimate. They were packaged great and everything. But when the little FNSKU sticker got on there, that was now labeled and it was violating their trademark. That's how they were getting people off of it. Wow. So look for that. I mean, there was multiple sellers. I didn't realize at the time that the drops, if everything drops down to one seller, there wasn't even on this listing, the brand wasn't even selling it. So it was like someone else created it and they had this off brand, that was listed wrong. So look for those things to trigger. Look for sharp drops every couple of months. If everything drops every couple of months down to one seller, or no sellers, there's a reason for it. Hold off. Pump the brakes, reevaluate in a month.
We teach that in the course. If it keeps dropping down to just one seller, that's probably the owner of the trademark coming in and saying, hey, we're cleaning house. Here's why. Right. So stay away. And there's good tools that we've talked about too that can help you avoid IP complaints. But even an IP complaint, it's not the end of the world. If you address it, it never is the end of the world. It's something you got to deal with. It's a journey. If this was so easy that you could just click a button and make money, then people would hire monkeys to click buttons and put money in the bank. But there's some thinking involved. There's some work involved. There's some strategy involved, as you've talked about today. But it's a journey. But it's not. Of all the opportunities I've ever seen, this is the one that I can say, if you're ready to do the work, if you're willing to put in the time, you're going to get the results as consistently as anything I've ever seen or taught. And that's why we're so bullish on it. That's why we have all these episodes of success stories, and with great guys like you and others, dozens and dozens of recent episodes where we talk about, hey, this stuff works. It's legit, but there's some work involved for sure. Yeah. Good tips today, man.
Thank you. And I could go on for days. I'm very passionate about it, like you are, and like so many others in the community. Thank you for the time, for, recognizing me and bringing me on the show. It's a great honor. It was a great honor. I casually met you in passing at the show. You were on your way somewhere in basketball shorts. I wonder what you were doing there. But it was great. It was nice meeting everybody. You've done a really good job with this, Jim, and the whole community. I'm just grateful to be a part of it. Thank you.
Man, we're honored to have you as well, Mike. And I think a whole lot of people had light bulbs going off as they listened to this episode today, and they're going to be coming up to you at our next event like, hey, you're the guy that said this or that. And, it's cool because, you can say certain things repeatedly. And maybe if you listen to all 380 episodes, it's said 10 times, but they haven't listened to all those. And today you said it, and you said it in a way that resonated or struck a chord. And you're going to have those people contacting you, reaching out to you, telling you thanks. It's a pretty cool effect that this episodes like this have on people. So I'm glad you were part of it today, Mike. But I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a second there, and say, hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. A longer episode, but I think if you look over your list of tips and tricks and strategies, this is chock full. This is a really packed episode with a lot of good action items on it. And if you're brand new to the community, I would encourage you, if this is the first episode you've listened to, listen to 5 or 10 more episodes and get yourself convinced. Get rid of some of that skepticism. This stuff works. A lot of real people doing this business. We're here to help you out. There's going to be links and resources near this audio or video, or you can go to silentjim.com/podcast, look for this episode number, and you'll have a list of our resources there as well. Everything we talked about today, the tools, like Mike mentioned, Rev Seller. Well, actually, the best price in the world on Rev Seller is a link that we're going to have in our show notes. You can't find that price anywhere else. We help them found and get that software started. So they give our community a great price. So use the links in the show notes for these great tools and resources we talked about today. But to all the business building warriors out there, just want to let you know we're in your corner. We're here for you. We want you to succeed. Yes, we're praying for you. Yes, we care. Yes, we are here just like we've been for 20 years doing what we do every day. And that's helping people launch multiple income streams using the internet creatively. And this is one we're super excited about. And we talk about it a lot because this is where you should probably start with this if you're not sure where to start, because it works. And we've got students all over the world doing this. So give us a call, reach out to us if we can be of assistance. All right. So until next time, thanks to our guest, Mike. You were phenomenal, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Bye,
to all the
everyone.
listeners
Appreciate
today, it was truly a pleasure hanging out with all of you. And we'll have another great episode again real soon. Hey, before I go, one last reminder, Payoneer.com, a tremendous sponsor of this show. You can get 10% off your first fees by going to Payoneer.com/funding. Tell them you came from our program. They're going to take good care of you. Up to $750,000 for Amazon and Walmart sellers. Hey, if you're needing some funding with some good flexible payback terms with no credit check, you're going to love these guys. Go check them out.